Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Tales from the Past. This is your host, Jelani Gooden. Now, I started this channel because, I was in school once upon a time ago, and we had a lot of random things you probably didn't care about learning. And I actually found it interesting and found a lot of stuff, went YouTube deep dive, and I was like, you know what, I should start a channel on my own. This episode, we're going to talk about Martin Luther first. To me, he had a really interesting life. Martin Luther was born in November 10th, 1483. And he was born to two parents. Dad mostly hardworking. Didn't want his son to work as hard as he did. So he was like, "Yo, son, I'm gonna send you to college, and I'm gonna send you to be a lawyer." Now, Martin didn't really want to be a lawyer, but also his dad was very strict. Used to discipline him a lot. So his main thing was he didn't want to disappoint his dad, and he did what he said. But I don't know if fortunately or unfortunately for him, the bubonic plague hit his college and pretty much wiped out the entire campus. Now, after it wiped out the campus, he had no choice but to go home and then left and went back to his dad. After spending time at home with his dad, the plague calmed down, the campus opened back up, and he ended up going back to school. But on his journey to school, there was a really bad storm. So bad that he thought he wouldn't make it.
God save me! I vow to serve you!
A little dramatic, right? But okay, yeah, he did fear for his life. He was so scared that he was like, "God, if you get me through this, then I'll be your servant. I'll do whatever you want." And that ended up bringing him to surviving and becoming a man of God. And he went home, told his dad. His dad didn't like it. He was like, "Oh, well, I promise God." And he ended up going, like anything Martin did, he went full throttle with it. So like even what I like to think of it as he went from obeying one father to obeying the next father. So it was like, I'm gonna go full throttle. Now, what priesthood back in that time period, being a man of God was pretty much showing like that you could live without the basic necessities, or you feel me, put yourself through pain, and it's all into like obedience to God. So Martin would often lash himself, deprive himself of food, throw himself in the snow naked, like just all these things, because that was the way that you proved that you loved God in that time period. So through this like self-mutilation, as I call it, Martin also realized, he was like, man, something's kind of wrong with this. Like he was saying, like he actually quoted, if he had continued going through life like that, he probably would have killed himself, honestly. So eventually he got a invite to go meet the Pope. So he ended up getting an invite to Rome. He's excited because any priest, he was from a smaller town, to get to Rome. Rome is like the Mecca, the big capital. You want to go to Rome. So he goes to Rome, but then as he goes to Rome, he sees all of these things. It's like, oh man, like these guys are, having orgies, doing like crazy things, doing stuff that isn't godly, but saying it's in the name of God. They're taxing their people. They're doing all these things. So he ended up getting upset and really questioning his religion and saying, like, is this really what I signed up for? Is this really what I became? Like, this what I devoted my life to, beat myself for? So after leaving Rome, Martin was furious. He couldn't take what he's seen. He was like, this can't be it. This is the religion I signed up for. Like, I've been beating myself. I've been killing myself. Like, he was really on the verge of quitting. But a superior ended up asking him to become a professor at college. And he was like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not really feeling it anymore. And the professor was like, look, trust me, once you get around these children, you start teaching them, I think it'll, re-spark your love for God. So what Martin Luther had to do, like I said, everything he did, he dove in full circle. He decided to like read the Bible from top to bottom. He's never done it before, but he was like, let me actually read it. And as he read it, he was like, okay, let me read this version. Let me read another version. So he read multiple versions of the Bible, and each version was telling him something different than he previously, encountered with just going, learning through other priests and stuff. It was like, the church was teaching him that, oh, to get into heaven, you have to appease the church. You have to mutilate yourself. You have to, basically pander to the Pope. But what he read was that, no, actually, the only person I have to appease is God. And he was like, in each version that it said that. So he was cool. He wasn't tripping too much, you know. He was like, all right, he goes and starts teaching that lesson or whatever. He was cool keeping that into his community until it came out that the Pope at the time ended up taxing people to get into heaven. So basically, I guess the Pope was running low on funds, and to get more, which he was already exploiting the people to get the funds that he already had, he decided telling people, basically, if you want to get into heaven and you've sinned, you can pay to get into heaven. It's like a get out of hell free card. So basically what they would do is he would come around with a metal pen, and you would metal tin, and you put a coin in there, and as you put the coin in there, the coin would drop and make a clang sound. And when it clanged, they would say, that's the sound of your soul being freed and going to heaven. Now, also, you could buy it for somebody else as well. So let's say if you had a father who died and you know your father lived in sin, you could also pay to release his soul from hell, and it rose to God. Pretty crazy finesse. It's outrageous that people would actually have fell for that, but that enraged Martin to the point of no return. So he ended up writing his 95 pillars, and his 95 pillars was basically saying what he really thought Christianity was and the religion was supposed to be, and he ended up hammering it on the church in his town or whatever. So what happened was it got out. Now, Martin never actually intended for his 95 pillars to get out. What he was is he was just mad. He wanted to do something, but also in this time period, the printing press was starting to become a thing, starting to come alive. So someone actually took his theses and put it in the printing press and sent it around. So as they sent it around, it did two things. One, it pissed off the Pope, because now he's mad. He's like, yo, somebody's contradicting the church, which is a killable offense of that time period. So he's mad. Now he's like, yo, y'all get him, because, we can't have people out here giving misguided information about, the church and God and stuff. But then also what it was doing was it was making the people happy, because the people were like, yeah, like, because this isn't right. Like, we've been exploited, we've been this, we've been that, like, we're overtaxed, like, all at the hopes of, getting into heaven. And it's like, nah, you telling me that I could live and go to heaven and be this way without, losing my livelihood and doing all these other things. So basically it was starting a revolt where people were like, nah, man, yeah, I got a problem with the church.
Martin Luther is a heretic. He must be stopped. His words are poison.
So now when the people revolt, and the Pope, he ends up losing face. So he's like, oh man, I gotta get the people back under control. He said, let's put out some legislature of our own and, really go after him, call him crazy, say he's going to hell. If you follow him, you're going to hell too. But all that did was just make, Martin Luther more angry. He's like, oh, now I'm really about to put pen to paper. Now I'm really about to come for your neck. And if you remember in the beginning of the video, I stated that, he went to law school. You don't want to argue with a lawyer. I'm pretty sure we all heard that before. It's like, oh no, like, don't argue with a lawyer, you will lose. So now he's coming for the Pope. And not only that, is a lot of people credit him as one of the first great authors, because his stuff was actually fun to read. He was funny, he was witty, he was like, oh, I got you. You feel me? So it ended up being probably one of the greatest battles, like, let's say, like, early Twitter beef, because the printing press was new. It was like, oh man, people had entertainment for days. So eventually the beef got so bad, the Pope's like, you know what, pull up to Rome. So everybody like, nah, Martin, you don't want to pull up to Rome, bro. They gonna kill you. He's like, nah, man. Martin's like, bro, I'm tough, bro. I'm going to Rome. And it's like, probably shouldn't have did it. But, he did it anyway. And, to his surprise, as he was going, he didn't even realize he was so popular. Like, Martin actually had a temper as well. So he's just writing. Like, he's just mad. Like, even like with the 95 pillars, he never meant it to get out. Like, but he's just like, he had to get it out. He had to release, and he didn't realize that he was building a really big following as well. So on the way to Rome, he actually had a lot of people following him, and as he traveled. So he gets to Rome, and to his surprise, he did expect to die and be killed, but he decided to stand on business. Rome came to him and gathered and gave him just a reception that he didn't expect. So Martin and Pope had their meeting, and neither of them bend to the other's will. So at this point, the Pope just has to let him go, because Martin is now a hero of the people. You don't want to kill him and make him a martyr, at least not where everyone knows it was you. So Martin goes about his way. He thinks he's going back home, but his friend who got him the job as a professor, his superior, he ends up kidnapping him and taking him away to a castle. After Martin is taken away to the castle, he ends up basically living his life under armed guard in fear that the Pope will eventually come for his life. And well, I guess Martin wasn't scared, but they were scared for Martin, and he decided to comply. So he spent the rest of his life in the castle, had a family, had kids, and sat there and really wrote. And he wrote, and it seems like with age, he got more bitter, and now he was like, all right, I'm condemning the church. And it started an uprising to which they ended up going to war with the church. And then he condemned the people that was at war at the church, who was really, at war following his words and commandments. So then he also had a problem with anti-Semitic, statements and stuff like that. So he ended up dying kind of just unhappy. So I hope you found this interesting. If you're in school and you had to write something about Martin Luther, I hope you found it helpful. This is Tales from the Past, and thank you. This is episode 1. We just getting started.
Come take a trip with me. Explore and you will see. It is no mystery. It's tales from history.